Hi, I'm Emily Arnson. I'm a freshman genetics major at Clemson. I attended the NewStudent dialogue on disability. The first thing that we did as a group was discuss the difference between dialogue, debate, and argument, which was good because then we knew what the instructors were looking for when they said that we were trying to achieve a true dialogue. Did we ever achieve a true dialogue? I'll conclude with that at the end. With any group, especially a group where many of the people don't know each other, they will be hesitant participants. I only knew my roommate in the group. Some voices were more active than others. This was a good thing because it kept the conversation going, but sometimes they just kept saying the same things only to hear their own voices. Another thing you should know is what the dialogue was on, the content of it. It wasn't on how you should treat people with disabilities, which is what 99% of the group thought it would be on. It was how we all have some little or big something that hinders us in some way. We can rise above it and make us all better people, and it can make us better people, or we can use it as an excuse all through our lives. The second thing we did was fill out a social identity wheel with our personal information like race, sex, religious affiliation, etc. There was one spot for physical, emotional, and developmental ability. This was for the disabilities that we have. One of the instructors was left-handed and put that in her wheel as a disability. I'm left-handed and I've never considered disability. It was really a stretch for me to put that in my wheel as a disability. All of us were, using stretches to put stuff in our disability wheel. We are all normal college-age kids, just in a student dialogue. We don't have any major or life-threatening things. It kind of annoyed me how she would consider that a disability. Being left-handed is just normal for me. I mean, of course, they have different scissors for left-handed people, and we play sports differently, but there's nothing wrong with being left-handed. We were all supposed to find things in ourselves to call disabilities. The active voices in our dialogue all spoke about the same thing because none of us have major quality of life preventing disabilities. There was one guy who spoke quite a lot about his deaf brother and had some very interesting stories to say that kept the conversation going. I was one of the more reserved voices in the group, but like the few other reserved voices, we realized that the conversation was being beaten to death by the people who kept speaking because none of us had anything to speak about. None of us had disabilities. None of us knew that many people, closely that had disabilities. I've heard this all my life. Don't treat people with disabilities differently. They're just the same. My mom's a special ed teacher in elementary school. I was always in her class with them. They're not different. I knew the conversation we were having. I've had it with my mom. I've seen her have it with other kids. It's the same old, same old. I think that this was part of the Clemson University Freshman Library 100 class because it taught us how to respect others with different opinions. No matter what session you attended or what your new student dialogue the content was on, the goal was to get us to converse as adults in a respectable and non-confrontational way. The purpose was not who's right or who's wrong or who can contribute the most to the conversation or who can say the least. It was so that we can share our opinions and speak to someone who has opposite opinions as us. I do see this as a useful tool in my university experience because it taught me many things about myself. I've learned that it's only a disability if you let it be. I've never considered being left-handed a disability, and I won't let it become one. It's not that big of a deal. The only thing that I put in my disability wheel was my bad eyesight. I have always worn glasses and contacts, but that will never stop me from living a perfectly normal life. The purpose of the new student dialogue was to achieve a true dialogue, and I think we did. There were times when the conversation would stop or, no one would have anything to say, but we achieved a true dialogue only when there was a group consensus on what the similar opinion on the matter was. It's a lot easier to speak in a group when you know they're going to back you up. When you have a different opinion from the group, it's hard to speak just because you don't know them as well. And for the most part, I agreed with what our group was saying. we spoke a lot about the same common things, but it was a really good dialogue, and I'm really glad that I participated in it.